across the desert, a whisper in a lamplit saloon, a rumor that lingers on the porch of a sleeping town. Before the legend, there was a boy. Before the headlines and the wanted posters, there was a son listening to his mother's voice. In a small room where the wind hummed through the seams and the kettle sang softly on the stove. Close your eyes. Picture the New Mexico territory in the late 1800s. Blue bowl of sky by day, a river of stars by night. Sagebrush breathing in the breeze. Hoofbeats far away fading toward the horizon. The earth smells of dust, sun-warmed stone, and a little wood smoke. He was born Henry McCarty sometime around 1859, where no one can say for certain New York. Perhaps, maybe Indiana. On the frontier, truth and story travel together, and the line between them shimmers like heat above a road. His mother, Catherine, kept a gentle center-folded shirt's warm bread. A hand on his brow when the air felt thin, they moved often, following work and hope from crowded streets to open spaces, from noise to silence, from the known to the almost known. Silver City, New Mexico. Morning clatter from the mines. Wagons creak past the storefronts. Children race along alleys, laughter catching in the dry air. A shopkeeper sweeps his threshold and nods to the day. Henry grew quick and light. He learned kindness where he found it, and swiftness where he needed it. He smiled when the world allowed and watched carefully when it did not. Then the wind changed. Catherine's breath grew shallow. The coughing took the sound out of the room. In 1874, she passed quiet as a candle at dawn. 14 years old, Henry learned the weight of absence. The sun still rose. Dogs still barked at shadows. Men still told jokes in doorways. But the miles became longer and the house felt larger without her voice. Hunger is a patient teacher. He took small things at first, a loaf of bread, a second-hand coat laundry tugged from a line when the wind rose. The law noticed, a rough hand, a cold room without bars, time that did not move. But Henry did not belong in a cage. He listened to keys and footsteps. He watched the hinge that scraped. He learned the night's rhythm, and one evening he slipped through it like a shadow across water. Outside, the desert held its breath, sage and dust, a horse shifting somewhere in the dark, stars pricking the high silence. The name Henry McCarty began to fade. A rumor rose in its place. Billy. Billy the Kid. The name fit like a hat held lightly against the wind. He was young, slim, quick, with a grin that could tilt a room toward laughter, and eyes that could weigh trouble in a heartbeat. The west turned, cattle along long trails, wire fences cutting the land, arguments over water, freight, and power. Billy drifted toward Lincoln County, where disagreements had grown teeth. On one side, the old guard Murphy and Dolan entrenched in trade and influence. On the other, John Tunstall, careful manners, clear ideas, a sense of fair dealing. Billy found work near Tunstall Circle. He rode fence lines, tended stock, listened at tables where maps were unfolded and letters folded again. He liked the quiet, steadiness there, the feeling that a promise might hold even when the wind came up. Then the string snapped. Tunstall fell in the road. It rolled in the wind. Horses shied. Men stared at a future suddenly emptied of its center. Grief cooled into resolve. The regulators formed oath-bound rather than badged. Names were listed. Cartridges checked. Horses saddled in the gray before dawn. Hoofs like a drum. Dust like a veil. Guns like distant thunder. And the kid rode light hands, steady eyes, breathing with the horse and the horizon into a story that would not let him go. Dawn comes pale over Lincoln County. Ash falls from last night's fire. Horses stamp once, then settle. Men speak in low voices, measuring the day in coffee and cartridges. The regulators ride. Not fast, not reckless, but with the long patience of men who know the land and trust their saddles. A thin breeze combs the grass. A hawk circles high, silent as a thought. Billy rides a little forward, not to lead, but to see. He watches fence lines, creek beds, the slant of light in a draw. He listens the way a good violin listens, catching small notes in a big room. In town, shutters lift. A woman sweeps her stoop, then pauses, listening. A storekeeper stacks tins in a window, pretending not to glance toward the road. Children hold their games until the riders pass, then scatter like starlings. What began as grief has become a geometry of choices. Names on a list, tracks in dust, questions asked softly at doors. Some nights end in talk and whiskey. Some nights end with thunder that was not in the weather. Around a small fire, the kid is lighter than the papers say. He warms his hands, tells a soft joke, switches easily between English and Spanish. He thanks the cook. He hums a tune that sounds like a road seen from far away. Our friends here, Tom O'Folliard with a laugh like a loose gate, Charlie Beaudry steady as a fence post in wind. Good men with dust in their hats and a little music in their hearts. But a fight any fight borrows from tomorrow. It spins sleep. It spins luck. When the Lincoln County war cools, ashes remain. Some houses stand empty. Some grudges do not. Billy's name sits heavier on a marshal's desk. Wanted posters tacked to boards that creak at night. He drifts as a man drifts when a county grows too small for him. Cards, cattle, short jobs under big skies. Kitchens where bread is pressed into his hands without a word. Barns where a blanket is left in a quiet corner. The governor offers talk of amnesty like shade on a hot trail. Letters are written careful, neat, almost hopeful. Promises move slower than posses. Capture comes in a hallway made of footsteps, hands, iron. Windows he cannot open. The echo of a key turning in a lock that knows its work well. The Lincoln County Courthouse holds him upstairs, where sunlight bars the floor and the street unrolls like a ribbon beneath the windows. Dogs cross without hurry. A cart wobbles. A hat tips. Time pauses where he cannot walk. Two deputies keep watch. One quiet, one proud, both certain. Billy counts the day by sounds, boots, voices, metal, a hinge that complains, a laugh that ends too quickly. He does not pace, he waits. He lets patience ride out in front of him like a scout. He breathes slow. He remembers the feel of reins in his hands, the smell of rain on dust, the way a horse listens when you have more to say with your legs than with your voice. Night comes gently to the second-floor room. The lamp makes a small island of yellow. Outside, the town folds itself into quiet. Somewhere, a piano plays a tired waltz and stops in the middle. In that hush, the kid measures the door with his eyes. He measures the space between breaths. He waits for the moment. That feels like a true thing, not a brave thing, and in the stillness, the story pulls in along, breath readying itself for the part that every telling remembers. Morning tilts into afternoon at the Lincoln County Courthouse. Sunlight drifts across the wooden floor, inching from one iron bar to the next. The town moves below like a quiet river, a cart wobbling past, a hat tipping at a doorway, a dog choosing the warmest square of dust for a nap. Inside, keys murmur on a ring. Boots speak in short sentences. A hinge clears its throat and grows still again. Billy listens. He counts the day by sound, by the soft scrape of a chair, by the shared laugh that ends as soon as it begins, by the small silence that follows when a man remembers why he is here. The deputies keep watch. Bill carries the work like a weight he doesn't talk about. Ollinger wears his confidence like a badge bigger than the one on his vest across the street for now. Close enough to hear thunder if the weather changes. Kid waits as if waiting were a craft he learned from the land. He lets patience walk ahead of him like a scout. He gathers the room with his eyes, the distance from door to hall, the banister polished by 100 hands, the rifle in the corner that no one thinks about because it is always there. The moment arrives the way warm wind arrives. Quietly, then all at once. A small request becomes a small permission. A small permission becomes a narrow hallway. Footsteps take their places on the stairs. What happens next is told a dozen ways in a dozen voices. But every telling keeps the same soft outline. Billy moves faster than the room believes he can move. There is a struggle on the stair, a clatter of breath and wood, a sharp report that empties the air, and a name carried in the echo like a question left open. Then stillness, the long, surprised kind. Across the street, Ollinger hears the noise. Boots on plank, a door pushed wide. The world narrows to a line between two men and a window pour of light. Billy finds the shotgun Ollinger favors, thumbs its weight, meets the day with steady eyes, and as if greeting a neighbor over a fence on a slow morning, says the words every retelling keeps, "Hello, Bob." Two thunderclaps. Smoke curls like ribbon into the hallway. Silence tastes of iron. After thunder comes movement. Iron parts company with wrist and ankle. A hat finds a head. A coat remembers a set of shoulders. In the yard, a horse stands ready the way some horses simply are. One too proud, none too slow. Faces gather at windows, some pale, some bright with a secret cheer no one will admit to later. A woman sets a hand to her mouth. Boy forgets to breathe until hoofs strike the street. Billy swings into the saddle with the unhurried grace of someone stepping back into his own shape. The horse chooses a rhythm that fits the road, thus lifts, hangs, and settles behind him like a curtain. Out beyond the last porch, the county opens its arms, gates of light between cottonwoods, a wind that smells of sun on grass. Somewhere, a hawk writes a long sentence in the sky and does not need to finish it. He does not look back, not yet. He rides as day leans toward evening, humming something small, something without a name. Freedom has a quiet. He listens to it a while. Behind him, papers will be signed. Men will gather and measure distances with fingers on a map. Names will be spoken that taste like metal. Ahead of him, night will make a road out of shadow and silver. And somewhere between the two, in the wide, breathing space the desert keeps for its stories, Billy the Kid rides on. After the escape, the world widens, then narrows. For a few days, the horizon belongs to Billy. Then the wanted posters blossom like dry flowers on courthouse boards, and posses begin to gather under hard hats and harder eyes. He drifts east and north and back again, riding fence lines no one will admit are his, sleeping in barns that welcome him with the smell of hay and old leather. Some nights he finds a kitchen lamp left burning low, a plate set out, a heel of bread, a folded blanket. No words, not just a quiet saying, "Go while you can." Tom O'Folliard laughs beside him on easy miles, a laugh that bumps like a loose gate in wind. Charlie Beaudry rides steady, the kind of friend who makes a campfire feel like a plan. They speak little. On the range, talk is for when it matters. Winter comes soft, then sure. The grass pales. Water skims with ice at dawn. Horses breathe steam into the morning like small clouds with their own ideas. Billy keeps to the country he knows, mesas that hold the last gold of daylight, royals that travel like secret roads, cottonwoods that whisper the same old advice, be small, be quick, be gone. Rumor travels faster than hooves. One town swears they saw him buying candy for a child with the last of his coins. Another swears he danced at a fiesta hat tip, boots soft, a waltz folded gently into the noise. The third town says they found only tracks, and the tracks read like a short prayer. Pat Garrett takes shape in the story now. Tall, quiet, a lawman with a memory for distances. He knows the kid's fondness for certain trails, certain kitchens, certain stars that mean turn south here. He counts days the way ranchers count calves, steady and without hurry. There is a girl at Fort Sumner, a smile like a shy lantern, defenses like lace, delicate but quite real. Sometimes Billy finds his way to that house when the roads feel too long. They speak softly in a room that smells of bread and fresh-washed cotton. They say very little of the future. The future is a skittish horse, better to let it graze. One night, a bad turn, a shout that tightens before it reaches the door. Tom takes a bullet meant for a ghost that won't hold still. Billy holds his friend a long minute while the desert pretends not to look. The wind has no pockets for grief, but it carries the sound kindly away. Days later, Charlie rides out and does not return the same. A man can choose his courage, he cannot choose where it is spent. The circle tightens. Horses tire sooner. Boots wear thin. Voices at night carry farther than they should. Billy keeps the habit of checking the horizon between bites of food. He sleeps in half-dreams, one ear turned to the door. And yet, there are moments of small mercy. A tin cup of hot coffee passed without a name. A porch where no one asks questions. A child waving from a doorway like a blessing. The country knows what is coming. The sky lowers in that certain way. Men speak in shorter sentences. Maps gather creases. Somewhere ahead, Fort Sumner waits, a low cluster of rooms, a few cottonwoods, a night that will hold too much. But for now, the road is a ribbon of gray, and the kid rides it quietly, a shape among shapes, carrying light and shadow in equal measure. The winter thins. Grass returns in pale threads. Creeks remember their voices. On the long roads, hooves find an easier sound. Fort Sumner waits like a low lamp at the edge of the map, a scatter of rooms, a few cottonwoods, a kitchen that keeps late hours. Sometimes Billy leans his head on a nail there and sits where bread cools and someone hums without knowing it. They speak little of tomorrow. Tomorrow is a skittish horse. Let it graze. Pat Garrett moves like weather you can feel before you see. He does not hurry. He does not tire. He measures days with the patience of a man who understands that circles close on their own if you do not break them. He listens more than he talks. The map creases where his fingers press. Town knows the shape of a last act. Windows gather shadows earlier. Men lower their voices in doorways. Boots step softer on boards that remember every name they've carried. Night comes with a warm hand. The moon rides thin. Air smells of bread and chalk and horse. Somewhere a fiddle tries a tune and lets it go. Billy walks with the soft caution of someone who has lived long under short odds. A doorway opens into a darkened room that holds the day's leftover heat. A bed, a chair, a breath of linen. A figure where a figure ought not be, just a shade of outline against a heavier shade of night. He pauses. His voice is quiet, familiar with both English and the tongue of neighbors he liked. Quiet ease, who is it? Silence gathers around the words like cloth. Then a sound that is not a word. Then the bright, dry crack the dessert knows by heart. For a moment, the room tries to keep the shape it had before. Then everything becomes simpler, a single breath that doesn't quite finish, a single weight that chooses the floor, a single stillness that pushes every other sound to the walls. Outside, the town holds its breath and then exhales it slowly down the street. A door opens. Footsteps forget what to do with themselves. Someone crosses himself without thinking. Someone else says a name and hears how small it sounds in the dark. In the morning, light is ordinary again. Men speak softly over coffee. A spade lifts earth with the same motion it uses for planting. The grave is not grand. The stone is not sure of its letters. Wind practices its vowels and moves on. Stories, though, do not surrender so easily. Some swear the wrong man fell. Some swear the kid slipped once more between fingers and fences and lived out years under a name that didn't T-mine him. Some swear they saw him later at a bar, at a race, at a small town fair where the music wore country clothes. The dessert knows how to keep a secret. It will keep this one too. What remains is a feeling more than a fact. A rider young and then against a long horizon, a grin that arrives, a heartbeat before the trouble. The voice that could say hello like a neighbor and goodbye like a ghost. Fort Sumner, the cottonwoods lift their hands to the sky and let them fall again. A head tilts on a nail in a room that has cooled. A trail leaves town and forgets to end. And somewhere in the patient country between dust and legend, Billy the Kid becomes what the West makes of those it cannot forget. Part truth, part echo, part wind moving low through the grass. Morning returns to the West as if nothing happened. It always does. Sun over low hills, wind through cottonwoods, blackbird measuring the fence line post by post. But stories do not return the same. They change hands, gather fingerprints, pick up a little dust and shine from every teller. Billy's story is like that, a coin passed across 100 counters, warm from use, soft at the edges, still bright enough to buy a listener's quiet. In Santa Fe, a clerk stacks papers and says the law is settled. In Las Vegas, a barkeep polishes a glass and says the law is never settled. On a porch in Lincoln, an old rancher points with 2 fingers and says hero that draw like a creek knows it's bad. Songs get written, too slow for dancing, just right for humming. A fiddle leans into a tune that knows where it's going but does not hurry. Words float on coffee steam in morning kitchens. Children learn the name before they learn the dates. What was the kid? A villain? A hero? The West answers by shrugging its wide shoulders and letting both be true for a while. The boy caught in the cogs of a county's argument. A young man who could laugh at a fiesta and judge a hallway in a heartbeat. A friend who warmed his hands at small fires, a rider who trusted his horses, a figure who fit the land's long appetite for myth. Backyard S name stays tied to Billy S in the way two stars share a line on a chart. Garrett writes a book. Men argue whether books make truth or simply offer it a hat to wear. In the gaps, folklore grows, old men nodding to things they might have seen. Women smiling at things they will not confirm. Children inventing details that feel right because the night is large and forgiving. At Fort Sumner, the stone leans a little and holds its letters as best it can. Wind practices the same syllables and gets no closer to certainty. Visitors leave coins. White flower once in a long while. Brass button with the green polished off by somebody's thumb. And out beyond the great beyond fences, towns, and tidy endings, there is the simple country of sleep. The place you are drifting now. A long trail with no hurry on it. A sky that forgets to be heavy. A horse moving without sound. If there is a lesson here, it is small and quiet. That people are larger than their wanted posters, that grief makes strange maps. That mercy travels in tin cups and folded blankets, that a name can be both a shelter and a storm. Let your breath find the slow rhythm of hooves on soft ground. In out, in out. Feel the saddle settle, the leather creak softly. The reins rest easy in loose fingers. Somewhere the kid rides a horizon that never quite arrives. Not running, just keeping company with distance. Smiling at a joke that does not need words. Humming a tune the wind has known for years. And you can let the trail go on without you for a while. Close the corral gate of the day. Hang your head on the quiet. Let the lamp go low. The West will keep. Its stories do not mind waiting. They have learned how. Sleep now, with the sound of a gentle breeze in the cottonwoods, with the soft jingle of a bridle somewhere far away, with the certainty that the night is kind to travelers who move lightly and tell the truth when they can.